Okay, I started working on this video in January, intending to satirize a popular political video format in a sports setting. You can imagine my surprise when the same week I was set to have my video come out, the company I was satirizing did just about the exact same video I intended to parody. Close to the same subject matter, same star player, he's wearing just about the same outfit. Fair play. Insanely bad luck on my part. Furthermore, my wife went into labor with twins the morning of the shoot, so I couldn't even get intel from our subject to organize an optimal release schedule. I had the option to spike the video, but because of the time put in by our volunteers, the work put in by our crew, and the professionalism of our star and his lovely wife Ernestine, we still want you to see it. Plus, I think it's just good debating. So watch the video, don't watch the video, but these are the circumstances. And remember, if you criticize me for making this video, you are criticizing a family man, father of two.
How are you? Here we go.
How you doing? Let's do it.
There we go.
Skip,
There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Same to you. Same to you. How are you, sir?
Best of luck out there.
How are you? You're going to need it.
Good to see you.
Nah. Nah. All right, we did it. I'm Skip Bayless, and this is why LeBron James is not the GOAT. We're going to take this in sections, and we are going to start off with this premise, probably the biggest premise of the day, which is Michael Jordan was laughably better than LeBron James.
Going up first.
Yes, sir.
Nice
All right.
to meet you, Skip.
What's your name? Your name is?
My name is Evan Campbell, and I've dreamed of this moment, so I just want a few minutes to say why LeBron James is the greatest basketball player to ever live.
Fire.
December 30th, 1984, a king was born.
Oh, that
LeBron
wasn't
Ramon
Tiger
James.
Woods, was it?
Wasn't
Oh, no.
Tiger
Okay,
Woods.
right, okay.
Wasn't Michael Jeffrey Jordan, who
No.
couldn't play in Planet Fitness these days. It was LeBron James. And I have 5 reasons why.
Okay.
First, we'll start with his scoring capability. He has more regular season points than him. He has more playoff points. He has the most points of all time, 42,000 and counting. He was the youngest player to 10,000 points, youngest to 20, youngest to 30, first to 40, and first to 50 combined. He has scored 40 points on every NBA team. He has more points than the active Charlotte Hornets roster combined. He has more 50-point games than he does single-digit games in his career, 14-8. My second reason is his resume. 4 finals MVPs, 3 Olympic gold medals, gold medal MVP, 2012 with Miami Heat, first team all-defense, first team all-NBA, MVP, finals MVP.
Okay.
The third is his all-around capability over Michael Jordan. LeBron was the first player in NBA history to be a part of the 30,000-point, 10,000 rebound, 10,000 assist club. Where it's standing today, 42,000 plus points, 11,000 plus rebounds, 11,000 plus assists. Michael Jordan is not in the top 50 for assists. LeBron James is 4. Michael Jordan is not in the top 100 of rebounds. LeBron James is 25.
Okay.
There's no stat that Michael Jordan has more than LeBron. Now, Skip, I'm assuming you're going to say longevity, right? Longevity, there it is. LeBron James, most NBA first teams, most all-star selections, most all-star starting appearances. Then let's start at 40. Already has more 40-point games than Michael Jordan ever had. We're in April. His birthday was in December. Longevity has to matter. He made the finals from 2011 to 2018. He didn't lose a series. Jordan got swept in 84 and 85 by the Boston Celtics. I rest my case. I believe LeBron James is the greatest basketball player to ever touch a court in the history of the universe.
Okay, so you mentioned longevity. I will give you that LeBron is the longevity king because he is the most durable superstar I have ever closely observed in any sport. I'm knocking on wood to even bring this up because God blessed him in ways nobody has ever been blessed. He's had no surgeries on shoulders, knees, Achilles, nothing. And he's so blessed that he's in year 22, as you well know, playing the greatest basketball of any 40-year-old we have ever seen by far. I give you all that. He has now played 60,000 regular season minutes, the most ever, to 40,000 for Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Overall, if we throw in the playoff numbers, it's 71,000 minutes for LeBron, most ever, by far the most ever, to 48,000 for Jordan. Oh, that's 23,000, magic number, because the only 23 was the original 23, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, who won 10 scoring titles in only 11 full seasons. That's all he really played, full seasons, because he got hurt early in his second season.
Gambling.
Okay, well, whatever happened, and he was gone. And then he retired way prematurely because he was at the backside of his prime on principle because they ran his coach out the back door in Chicago. And he said, okay, I am gone and I am done. For 3 years, at the back of his prime, he did not play basketball. He came back for 2 ceremonial years. You can have your age 40 with him. He came back out of shape. He didn't care because he was the coach, the GM, and was doing a favor for the owner in Washington. I discount those 2 years. I don't even acknowledge him because he retired in 1998. I was there in Chicago for the Last Dance season, and he was the greatest terror who ever played basketball because the league was afraid of him in ways they have never been afraid of LeBron James. LeBron James is a lousy shooter by superstar standards because if you look at his career free throw percentage, it's 74%. I don't know how you're disqualified right there on 74% because if you look all time, historically, that ranks 478th. You did the best you could. You made the greatest sort of pick and choose case that you could ever make for LeBron James, and I admire that. I am in awe of the case you made, cherry picking the best notes that you could pick about him. You got it?
I think so. It's good.
I love your attire. I'm impressed. Your name is?
My name's Yanni Kalopoulos. It's
And
draft
you
night.
are a Laker fan
Of course.
for lifelong?
For lifelong.
From?
From New York.
Okay, how did
From
that
New York.
happen?
So basically, my godfather used to live with us. He's a big Kobe guy. Growing up, watched him, win a couple rings, about 8, 9 years old, stuck with the Lakers ever since. So,
Okay.
Lakers fan. But I wanted to talk about a couple things that you just mentioned.
Yes.
The scoring. You want to say that Jordan is a better scorer, right? Well, why don't we talk about the illegal defense rules, where you're not allowed to have any help defense back his entire time. When you watch LeBron play over his 22 years of greatness, every time he's driven to the paint, there's probably about 16, 17 people who jump in there to try to stop him.
Yeah,
And they
I'll
need,
give you that.
And they
It's a
need
fair
more.
point.
And they
Yep.
need more. 16, 17 people still was
I
never
have
enough
said
to stop
from the
him.
start he is the greatest driver of the basketball I've ever seen, greatest basket attacker because he's 6'9", 200, and I don't know what he is now, 260, maybe 270, ambidextrous, left hand, right hand because he's born left-handed and can shoot it both ways. I give you all the above.
All right,
Proceed.
and then continuing. So if we're going to say that Jordan's a better scorer, right? You just admitted yourself he's not as good driving to the paint because nobody is. It's not even a knock
listen,
against him. If I may.
Jordan was a demon attacking the basket, but LeBron's just bigger. Like Jordan's 6'6", we're talking 6'9",
Bigger, stronger,
270.
faster, jumps higher, more handsome. But anyways, continuing.
Not jumps higher. Did you ever see the dunk contest? Because LeBron did not compete in a single dunk contest because he was scared to death
You
of
think
them.
he was scared of the
he
dunk
was gonna-
contest?
Yeah,
You don't
humiliate
even mean
himself.
that. I see it in your eyes. You don't mean it.
I do mean that.
All right, continuing though. You're talking about his shooting. The three-point line was not only closer during Jordan's time, they were treating him like he was Ben Simmons. They were leaving him open from the three-point line. They had no problem with him taking him shots.
Yeah.
They were treating him. It was like Magic Johnson with a paper cut. Nobody wanted to get near him. They knew he couldn't make it, so they let him take as many threes
Remember
as
him
possible.
against Portland in the finals, running up the court like, I just made another one.
It was like, oh my God, finally, they're starting to drop.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the greatest three-point shooter of all time?
Ray Allen was up there.
So-
Obviously, Steph is.
So Steph.
yeah,
I mean,
somewhere-
it's Steph.
yeah,
It's
but
obviously
I
Steph.
saw Ray make the greatest clutch three I have ever
So
seen.
obviously,
Yeah.
we're on the same page. Steph
Yeah.
is the greatest three-point shooter of all time. Now, last year, what was the percentages? Who shot more efficiently from three? Was it LeBron or was it Steph?
Well, I mean, Steph had a much higher percentage last year. I don't remember exactly what LeBron's was, but I mean, Steph was 44% last year.
Fortunately, LeBron shot a higher percentage from three than Steph did last year. And I understand I think if you went towards the volume, you could have had it, but the percentages, which is what we're talking about, incorrect. So LeBron is better from three, better at attacking the basket.
LeBron did not shoot better from three than Steph did last year. I don't know what you're looking at, but he just didn't.
Numbers.
Okay.
And then if we're talking...
You must have gone to LeBron.com for those numbers, right?
Why don't we talk about the I Promise School? Because that's actually where I grew up. I studied at the I Promise School. And those kids... Yeah. Those kids... Okay. Those kids there. Yeah. I mean, if we really want to talk about it, on the court, I don't even think it's close. But off the court... LeBron, what he did at the I Promise School, those kids needed to use two hands to count to five.
I am with
and now
you,
they're almost passing math tests
that's
because
not
of
what
LeBron
we're talking about.
Raymond James.
Okay. Okay. Nice try. Way to go. Who is next? You want to go? Oh, here we go. Yes, sir.
How are you?
What's your name?
My name's David.
Hi, David.
It's great to meet you. So obviously we've been talking a lot about the LeBron Jordan. I think if we really had to classify this, it goes into three classifications. We can talk about the numbers and what was done on the court, which I think is going to be a huge part of this conversation as long as we omit everything that's not Jordan's 6 finals. Because if we look at the totality of what Michael Jordan did compared to LeBron, LeBron has a huge head start. Then we take the eye test. We all have televisions. We've all seen them both. I think the big piece here.
Have you seen Jordan? I'm not sure a lot of the.
I have.
I was
born.
He actually
I was born,
existed. He actually played in the NBA once upon a time.
Which is,
you can YouTube him. Just check him out.
Which is wild because at this point we talk about Jordan like a mythical figure,
Yeah.
understanding that he came in the age of analog in the 80s, going to the digital age in the 90s.
True.
We got exposure to athletes that's not the same overexposure now. And so at this point, we also have the man, Republicans buy sneakers too. So he was very much someone who didn't want to hurt his public persona.
Yeah.
LeBron gives his opinions, and of course he has such a large following that 50% of the people hate his opinions. But regardless.
Although I got to tell you, because I got to know Jordan fairly well, he did not care what you thought or you thought or you thought or I thought of him. In the end, he did sell sneakers, and that was some throwaway line on a bus going back to the hotel. He was joking about because he's the greatest sneaker salesman in the history of sneakers. I got them on right now. I live in them.
Well, I'm
sure some people here got some Jordans on. Am I right?
Yeah, but
Did anybody wear Jordans?
No
Jordans?
He came into the league at a time where before Jordan sneakers,
you own them, but
everyone was wearing the same shoes that you see a barista in Bushwick wearing right now. They're all wearing.
That's true.
If LeBron came into the league and everyone was wearing Crocs, I'm sure the LeBron shoes would be selling off the shelves, and suddenly he's got the most important shoe in the world.
Okay, but LeBron didn't care. I mean, Jordan didn't care what people thought of him. LeBron really cares about what people think. And I always say he's a really nice guy, too nice a guy to be the cold-blooded assassin that Jordan was, which is why he was 6-0.
He was cold-blooded enough in 2011 that when he lost, he decided he was so angry that he would rattle off 7 more straight NBA finals, which happened to be more than LeBron made his entire career. But I think when we start looking at the longevity piece, which clearly if you're a pro-Jordan guy, you sort of have to willfully neglect the entirety of the longevity conversation in order to even make it a LeBron versus Jordan argument. When you start looking at the eye test, you've got a guy who's built like Ben Wallace, runs like Randy Moss, but your first thought
I wouldn't
is,
go that far, but
I might. But then, of course, you start looking at it, it's like, well, this guy is the greatest athlete that America's ever seen, but can he pass the basketball like Magic Johnson?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, he can. But can he score the basketball
by the way,
similar
you realize in 1998, Jordan averaged 8 assists that year?
Yeah,
he could really pass the basketball, but when you're winning 10 scoring titles and you're going 6-0 in the finals, your team doesn't need you to pass the basketball like LeBron's has needed him to pass the basketball.
Which makes sense because LeBron's playing in an era where basketball and ball movement was the biggest piece. One thing we always talk about, of course, is Jordan's 6-0 versus LeBron's, but you never stuck an all-time great dynasty in the middle of Jordan's prime. If you had put the Warriors in the middle of Jordan's prime, is Jordan still 6-0? The other question I would have is if you took Jordan and had him match up one-on-one versus Steph, which I agree with you. Jordan is one of the best on-ball defenders we've ever had.
Well,
the difference
he
is,
only won a Defensive Player of the Year,
of
which
course,
LeBron hasn't won.
which is probably more of a testament to the defensive prowess in the league and at the relative time he was there versus later when the entire NBA was significantly more athletic and the individual defenders were better. I guess my question here is that if you put Jordan on Steph in the middle of an NBA final game, and you could make the case that Jordan could lock Steph up, but one thing Jordan couldn't do is that when Steph actually then hands the ball off to Draymond, a back pick gets set, the ball gets back to Steph, he kicks it to Iguodala, Pippen then goes run to go guard Iguodala, kicks it to Clay in the corner, Clay scores 3. You don't necessarily have Jordan to be able to defend all of that. Meanwhile, the reason why LeBron's steal numbers aren't the same is because LeBron was playing center fielder in a way that he could basically stand behind the actual primary defender, and no matter where the ball went, in about a half a second, LeBron was there.
Okay, hold on a second. We have run out of time, but we ain't done yet. We got to go a little bit more on this because I want to crush somebody else before we're finished with this first topic. Here we go. What's your name? Connor, have a seat.
Skip, a pleasure to be across from you. I've seen you debate many people on this subject. In the near 2 decades I've been watching LeBron James, I got a question for you about Scottie Pippen. A guy, for people with your narrative, we like to hate on Scottie Pippen. Guys in this room, we love Scottie Pippen. Michael Jordan,
bet you do.
in '93, the Chicago Bulls win 57 games. He retires, which we can get into the reasoning behind it. Maybe a gambling suspension, maybe something else, who knows?
I give you that, yeah.
Thank you for giving that one to me. I appreciate it. So he retires. The next year, the Chicago Bulls win 55 games.
Yep.
Scottie Pippen, the guy, even when Jordan was playing, the guy who leads the team in rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks, the do-it-all guy, the guy who was the better defender, defending the best wing on the opposing team.
He was a great Robin. I give you that.
Well,
Yeah.
that year he was actually not a Robin. He was top 3 in MVP voting, top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year voting, first team All-NBA, and first team All-Defense. The team won 55 games. That is a
Remember what happened against the
difference.
Knicks in the playoffs?
Yes, they lost in 7 games to the Knicks. The Knicks, the team that went and defended, that represented the East, and lost in 7 to Hakeem Olajuwon and the Rockets.
What happened to Scotty in that final, in the that playoff series? What happened? He wouldn't go back in a game. It was the crucial turning point game of that series.
I don't know what
wouldn't
that
go
is.
back then. Yeah.
Okay, great. So they lost 2 games after Michael Jordan, the best
He
player
was
ever.
Robin
the best
to
player
Batman.
ever. He retires in the middle of his prime, and we give him these years like, it counts. He retired. He quit on his team, and they lost 2 less
No,
games.
he didn't quit. They fired his coach.
LeBron James they went 66-16 in 09. 66-16, they had the best record in basketball. The following year, they go 61-21, best record in basketball. He leaves. They go 19-63, the 29th best record in basketball. Wait, stop. They 3 out of the next 4 years, they have the #1 pick. They go back-to-back years, the best team in basketball, to 3 out of 4 years, the #1 pick. This team lost 2 games or won 2 less games. He retired. That's the difference this guy makes. The best wing, the second best wing when Jordan was playing was the guy right next to him, his teammate, Scottie Pippen. That was the other best wing in the league, his teammate. And the guy who thinks that LeBron is better than him. Don't look up Scottie Pippen's opinions on other things that might ruin the argument, but he says that LeBron's better than him. But before he got there, 1-9. You talk about playoff performances. Look up how Jordan played in those games. Look up how Jordan played in them.
Oh, good. I will.
He
Okay,
actually played really good. I've actually looked it up. I know how. So
He
maybe
scored
it's a
63
So
at
maybe it's a
Boston.
team sport.
63?
So maybe it's a team sport. So maybe you guys, the Jordan fans, they like to say, "Oh, he scored 63 against Bird and the Celtics, that all-time team." Yeah, that's great.
Do you remember what
look at
Bird said
LeBron,
after
but
the game?
you can't say that. You can't count that.
Bird said that was God disguised as Michael Jordan. That was from Larry Bird when Michael was in his 2nd year because they were scared to death of him.
They anointed him. We've looked at LeBron's career in comparison to Michael Jordan since he's 15 years old, averaging 21 and 6.
Help me out here. Help me out.
Please.
2010, last go-around, first stint in Cleveland against the Boston Celtics. LeBron played one of the greatest games. I watch every dribble that he's ever dribbled. At Boston, game 3, and they go up 2-1, and he shrinks and disappears in 4, 5, and 6. And ultimately, his owner accused him of quitting in that series. Jordan never was accused of anywhere near
He
quitting.
quit for 2 years. He retired twice in the middle of his. First of all,
stop.
What do
He
you
was
mean?
forced out.
Explain. Why did he retire? Why did he retire?
Good job. Thank you. LeBron is 4-6 in the finals, easily could be 2-8, saved by Ray Allen and Kyrie, who wants a piece of this. Here we go, sir. You dress for the occasion. What's your name?
Boris Bogdanovich.
Okay. Yeah?
Not related to Boyan and
All
Bogdan,
right.
but I wish.
Yeah.
I wish Boyan could play with LeBron one of these days. But before we start, pregame ritual, LeBron made a iconic. Is it all right if I do a powder toss quick?
He stole it.
He made that.
Stole that from the master. He stole it, and he still does it. He went to the house that Jordan built a couple of weeks ago in Chicago, and he did it before the game, and I said, stop it. I'm going to throw up watching my TV. That belonged to that guy, and LeBron announced right away, I got next. I'm going to be at least as good as he. And it crushed LeBron's soul because he can't even get in the ballpark of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Go ahead.
Well, in the finals, I love that you bring up Ray Allen. In that game 6, in that fourth quarter, a lot of people remember the Ray Allen shot. Bron made a 3 before. LeBron had 16 points in that fourth quarter. Ray Allen hit the 3. Very thankful for Ray Allen, always will be. But there was a game 7 to be played. And Ray Allen and Chris Bosh in that game, they had as many points as me and you. 0 in that game.
Okay. I was a big Spurs fan at that point. Ray Allen shot them right in the heart. They couldn't get back up off the mat for Game 7 because they were up 5 points with 18 seconds left in Game 6. And by the way, the reason they should have closed the deal is in the last. I give you that LeBron did a lot of good things in that fourth quarter. He did make a fairly late 3, but then at 40 seconds left, he had an unforced error turnover where even I, as a LeBron not hater, but non-fan. I said, LeBron, what are you doing? And at 20 seconds left, he had another unforced error turnover. And then with 6 seconds left, he, of course, has the shot to tie the game, and he LeBricks it off the back
In Game
arm.
7, in Game 7, they were only up 2 of 30-some seconds left. You know, with the shot, right elbow over Kawhi to make it a 2-possession game and ice the game.
Okay.
People forget that, too.
Okay, but what if Ray's shot doesn't go in? What if he,
what
it's
if
a long
Kerr
rebound
didn't make
after
a
Chris
shot
Bosh?
for MJ?
Okay.
You have teammates
Okay,
there for a reason.
but
There's 4 other
MJ
guys out
called
there.
those plays in the huddle. He said, "There are 2's coming to me. I'm going to kick it to you, and you're going to make this shot." That was the Steve Kerr shot. Well, this just happened. It was LeBron trying to make the 3, and it's a long rebound, and Bosh gets it and kicks it over to Ray, and he got his feet behind the three-point line. What if his toe is on the three-point line? We're having a different conversation because LeBron is 3-7. And then Kyrie, nobody could make a shot in the fourth quarter, and Kyrie made the shot of shot.
Okay.
Good job. Thank you. All right. Yes, sir. How are you? Hi, Sean. Nice to meet you.
Hand of the king himself.
Wow.
Yes.
Where did you get that?
Amazon for $5, actually. It's quite the steal.
All right.
But I just want to talk about a specific day in my life that I
Okay.
know I hold dearly. I know a lot of people here hold dearly, too.
Is it December 30th?
No. That is
Okay.
July 4th, 2016.
Okay.
That is the single most important day in the NBA history.
Kevin Durant Day?
Kevin Durant Day.
Yep.
We had the 73-9 Golden State Warriors off of a 7-game series final against our great king in 2016. The greatest regular season team ever. What do they do after that? Even though they beat us 2 years ago, what do? Oh, that's right. Draymond Green cries in the parking lot and calls the second best player at the time to come join the 73-9 Warriors. And look, I'm not here to judge eras. I know that Jordan played against great people. Charles Barkley was a great player, all-time player. Magic Johnson, yes, he was old at the time, all-time great player. There is nothing comparable to the 2017-2018 Golden State Warriors. And to put LeBron in a situation where he has to be compared to them, or those count as his finals loss, are just absolutely unfair and ridiculous. Because, I mean, even when we were looking at the Olympics this year, what is every photo from the Olympics? It's a picture of Steph, Kevin, and LeBron. And while everybody else is highlighting the importance of, oh, this is our era, like, look at that. I look at that, I'm like, no, this is LeBron's era with the 2 guys that had to join together to beat him. So what do you say?
Steph Curry in the fourth quarter In his house, he got 2 out of 3 games to just win one. All you had to do is win. You're up 3 games to 1. Draymond obviously suspended for game 5. And we go to game 7, fourth quarter, and Steph Curry in his house goes 1 for 6 in the fourth quarter, 1 of 5 from 3, had a horrible turnover with 2 minutes left, and really disappointed me. I think Steph in the postseason is very overrated. If you look hard at his postseason, it's overrated. And to your point, it was Steph who led the contingent to fly all the way across the country, all the way out to the tip of Long Island, all the way out to the Hamptons, to recruit Kevin Durant because they knew they couldn't beat LeBron and they thought Kyrie in next year's finals. And they needed Kevin Durant, and yet Kevin went into LeBron's house and beat him head-to-head. And again, he had a lot of help, you could say, but they needed that guy to do that, to stop LeBron. I give you that. If you look at LeBron against the Warriors, before they were the Warriors in 2015, LeBron played the 3 greatest games of his career in games 1, 2, and 3 because he didn't have Kevin Love.
Yeah, Kevin Love, no Kyrie Irving.
And Kyrie blows up his knee in overtime of game 1. And go look at the numbers. They are staggering. You're making a GOAT case, and you get to game 4 in your house against a team that you are by far the best player on the floor against. And in game 4, you have a chance to come and shut my mouth, to not close your GOAT case, but to make your GOAT case. And what does he do? He goes 7 of 22 in that game. And he made 5 of 10 free throws in that game, and they got smoked on their home court because Steve Kerr put Iguodala in the starting lineup and put him on LeBron. Okay, well that's you just got disqualified. I'm sorry, you're over and out.
Oh, new guy. Awesome.
Okay, way to go. Good job. Good job. We'll keep going. Yes, sir. How are you? You're Adam. Nice to meet you, sir. I got him.
I got my bronze on.
Oh,
also,
God.
we got the LeBron James jersey. See, we got the Jordan logo because we're not very insecure.
What do you think? Which of these sneakers is worth more on the open market?
I mean, we're not really worried about that. Jordan's a diehard capitalist.
Okay.
And listen, we got the MJ logo because unlike Jordan stands, we're not insecure about Michael Jordan. We respect Michael Jordan. We respect his legacy, so we're not afraid to rep him. At the same time, it's also like back in the days, in war when they would scalp someone, they would wear the scalp. So we got that right here. So here's something I want to address.
That is so disrespectful.
Here's something I want to address. I just want to go back and talk about the 6 finals losses that LeBron has, right? So let's start with 2007. Do you know what the starting lineup for LeBron James's finals team in 2007 was?
I don't even bring it up.
Right.
I mean, you should have come closer in one of those games than you did.
He's 22 years old.
Okay.
I think MJ was still taking econ class or having a tutor work on his stuff.
But you're up against 3 Hall of Famers.
Right. Very tough.
There's no Kawhi yet, but you got 3 Hall of Famers.
Exactly. I don't think a single one of those players averaged more than 14 points a game. Let's go to 2011. Look, I'll give you that. That happened. It is what it is. But
I mean, it was ugly.
Hey. But then, hey, let's.
We're talking about when the chosen one became the frozen one in games 4, 5, and 6.
Right. But the best thing about LeBron's career is that it goes farther than that, right? Let's jump to 2015. The first round of 2015 in the Eastern Conference playoffs. What happens? Kelly Olynyk channels his inner John Cena.
He did.
Tears apart Kevin Love's shoulder.
LeBron
loses his 3rd guy.
Yep.
Kyrie Irving, who was playing well in his first game in the finals, they might have won that game, breaks his kneecap. LeBron James still manages to take 2 games off the Golden State Warriors with Timofey Mozgov and Matthew Dellavedova, who wasn't even in enough shape to cover Steph. He had to get an IV in between those rounds.
You realize that you again lost 4, 5, and 6. What happened, LeBron?
Okay,
Where were you?
So let's jump to 2016. 2016, we know what happened. Legendary playoffs, greatest finals ever.
Yep.
Then, my man already described it over there. Draymond makes the call. They make the call. They convince Katie to come in.
Yep.
2017, 2018, how do you argue against those losses for LeBron James? In 2018, who on LeBron's team was better than Bam Adebayo?
Okay, do you remember game 1 of 2018 at Oracle?
Oh, yeah. He got robbed. He took a charge against Kevin Durant that the NBA reviewed, but because MJ Stands got on the phone, they overturned that charge and made it into a block.
Game 1, 2018, LeBron James gets the switch onto little Steph Curry. I don't know, I'll give him 6'3"-ish maybe, but it's 6'9" over 6'3". And LeBron goes up for a shot to win it because you're down 1, and all you got to do is make this shot coming off as hot an outside shooting game as he's ever had in a playoff game. And what does he do? He kicks it to George Hill. I'm a Spurs fan, so I know George Hill. He's not that guy. You don't want him shooting late-game free throws. Clay tackles him, sends him to the free throw line. He made the first one. Way to go, George. But predictably, he missed the second one. J.R. Smith lost his mind. The clock ran out. LeBron goes over and sits and pouts.
Wait, Skip. Who made the
Yeah. All right, good job. Way to go. Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name is Gabriel Diaz. It's
Hi,
nice to meet you,
Gabriel.
boss. So yeah, I just kind of want to talk a little bit about, when you talk about finals appearances and you talk about finals wins, I think that there's not enough credit specifically from people who are the Jordan lovers for even making the finals as LeBron did those consecutive years. When you look at Jordan's career, he did have the 6 finals, 6-0 in the finals. How impressive is that? I'll give him his flowers there because, as my man said, we're not insecure about Jordan. We know that he's the second best player to ever play the game. We're very, very certain on that. But understanding that he didn't win a title every time that he was in every season that he played in the NBA. That's something that's just a simple fact. And I think that we have to kind of consider that as we start to talk about the impact that a player can make on bringing their team to the finals.
But you understand there were Larry Bird's Boston Celtics, then there were the Bad Boy Pistons, then there was Reggie Miller and Larry Bird coaching a really good Indiana team.
And Steven, let me tell you, Skip, sorry. Say apologies there. Skip, I'm sorry, Skip.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry, Skip.
It's okay.
I'm sorry, Skip. But understanding, I'm not here to debate eras and debate the greatest teams of this era and the greatest teams of that era. What I could tell you is certifiably, all those teams are good teams. The Larry Bird era, the Magic Johnson Lakers, those are great teams. Just as the Warriors teams that LeBron had to play were really good teams, just as the Celtics teams that LeBron had to get through to get to the finals were great teams. So, I'm not here to debate whether that team's better than this team. What I'm here to debate with you is the fact that every time that he had to get out there and bring his team to the finals, whether he had a great supporting cast or a weak supporting cast, my guy was there and he was ready to bring his team to as far as he could take them. And you understand that there's limitations to what you can bring to a team. When you look at 2018 in particular, you made a good point to say that maybe he shouldn't have gave that ball to George Hill. But when we look at that play, as basketball purists, he made the right decision, and he had to do that.
He always makes the right play, taking himself off the hook to make the shot, right?
That's not always, because if you look at that same playoffs, in 2018, he was hitting game winner after game winner to take his team there. He wasn't passing those up when he hit that floater against Toronto, when he hit that 3 against Indiana, and then when he played super well against
Think
Boston.
about that. All you have to get through. Yeah, okay, way to go. All right, good job. Uh-oh, here we go. Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name's Danny Friedman. Excited to bring up this point.
Welcome, Danny Friedman.
Try it. You talk about being clutch and who has the most playoff buzzer beaters of all time. It's LeBron James. It starts from 2009, hitting a game-winning 3 against the Magic to even the series in Cleveland.
Yep.
No one even talked about his run in Detroit, where he scored 25 straight points to beat the Pistons. That's one of the best teams in the East in the 2000s. They won a championship, of course.
By the way, he had a shot at the end of the first overtime to win the game and airballed it. But go ahead.
Okay, but did he win the game still?
Yeah.
Okay,
they
just
did.
making sure. So then, you talk about a lot of the teams he goes up against. He beat the Pacers with Paul George, Roy Hibbert, David West, Lance Stevenson.
With a walk-off that he blew past Paul George. And laid it off the glass with his left hand, which is his dominant hand because he was born left-handed.
Right,
so you're going to take that as a buzzer beater, right?
Well, what do we consider it otherwise? Is it not a buzzer
the other
beater
night,
where there's the red on the shot clock?
The other night he got a buzzer beater with a little tip in against Indiana, right? Okay, way to go.
So then, you talk about Derrick Rose and the Bulls with Jimmy Butler, Taj Gibson, Tom Thibodeau, and D. Rose hits that shot to bank in a 3. And then the next game, what does LeBron do? Dave Blatt draws up a play,
for
not
Kyrie.
for LeBron to take the shot. And LeBron says, F that, I'm taking the play.
I love it when he gets mad. He doesn't.
Too,
he rarely gets mad.
He wants it. And you said he doesn't want it, but he's shown he has. And what does he do? He gets the ball in the left corner, catch, fire, ball game, buzzer, evens the series again. Now we talk about 2018, and he had 2 buzzer beaters. He ended basically Toronto, which became LeBronto. OG Anunoby, he took him full court, up down the court, hits a floater from the left wing, one hand running off one foot.
By the way, you realize I don't think he meant to bank that shot. It ticked off the glass.
But he did.
No,
but he did bank it. But he did bank it.
No, seriously, go look at it again. He's so deep
Okay.
that the bank becomes irrelevant. You need to shoot it straight on because you're going to have to tick it off the edge of the glass to make it.
That's some great hate watching
Okay.
right there. I mean, I got to give it to you for that. But then, what about against the Pacers that series? He hits a three.
It was a good
at
one.
the
I'll give you
buzzer.
that.
Great
Hey,
shot.
if you play 71,000 minutes, every
you're
once
gonna-
in a while the blind squirrel's going to find an
That's true.
acorn,
That's
right?
a good point.
I mean, you just are. So he found a few acorns. But which of those shots that you just described had stature, had monumental to them? Because think about Michael Jordan's clutchness. When did we first? Whoops. Let me put this back up. Yeah, hang on.
See, he's rattled.
Okay. I'm excited.
Rattled.
Every shot that Jordan made, clutch shots, and he's 9-8 career over LeBron, that they all had magnitude to them.
Yeah. So my last take.
Okay. Good one. Way to go. Way to go. LeBron has always been a thin-skinned diva and the mentally weakest superstar ever. Here we go. You are.
My name's Andrew. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
Uh-oh. Wait. And you actually got over LeBron leaving you the first time?
I did. He brought me my only ring.
You're
in my
like
lifetime.
3 years old then, right? Okay.
23, all right.
Okay.
He has been averaging 28, 8, and 8 since I've been walking.
Okay.
Since LeBron was in high school, Brian Windhorst has been following him around. Everyone knows who LeBron is. He's got the Sports Illustrated cover.
True.
He has been dealing with the media and everything around him since he was 16 years old. Jordan did not have the media attention with the current media landscape in the world, with all social media, with us doing this right now. They get way more attention nowadays than Jordan got back in the day. LeBron has had an eyeglass on his personal life, on his professional life, everything since he was 16 years old, and he is still here as the greatest basketball player of all time. If that's not being thick-skinned, then I don't know what it is. There have been media personalities for the past 20 years on various channels across various industries that have taken shots at him that he does not respond to until recently. Pat McAfee's show.
Okay.
Man's 40 years old and he broke.
Let's just go recent.
Okay.
Obviously, Stephen A. Smith is my brother, so I do defend him, but in this case, I'm being completely objective. LeBron went over during a timeout at a game in which Stephen A. was watching his Knicks play out in Los Angeles and ambushed him, blindsided him, sucker punched him verbally by walking up to him and saying, "Keep your son's name out of my mouth." Well, all Stephen A. said was that Bronny was looking like he couldn't play in the NBA, which he was at that point.
I would
looking
make
like
the argument that if Michael Jordan did the same thing, called 1996, roles reverse, the media would love it. They would be that killer instinct.
He wouldn't have
that
done
Michael
it that way. Like LeBron wanted to hit and run. LeBron wanted to say what he said, get it on camera because he knew all the cell phones were going to be capturing it, and go back right into the basketball game so he didn't have to face the onslaught of what Stephen A. might respond with. Stephen A. got no response, and that's the kind of conversation, if you really care about it, say meet me outside the locker room after the game. I don't know. That's just thin-skinned diva to me.
I don't think that.
Okay, good job. Way to go. Good job. Okay, how are you, sir?
Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Also from Cleveland, Ohio.
Are you really? Wow.
All right, so
By the way, how old were you when LeBron left you?
I was 20. I'm old in the room. Yeah.
And did you burn his jersey when you were 20?
No, I actually have a bunch at home that are mediums that I couldn't wear today because I look like a sausage. So here we are, brand new double XL. I just want to say, when LeBron first started in his career as a high schooler, I was 8 years old watching him. He played football with my brother at St. Vincent St. Mary. So I've watched him ever since I was that little. And I'm, as I said, 32, washed, and he's still dominating the NBA. Before he even played his first game on ESPN, they ran a promo open showing Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He hadn't even played a high school game on national TV yet, and he was already compared to those legends. So as a 16-year-old, he was the 11th best player of all time, according to the media. He ended up not only living up to that, but exceeding those expectations throughout his career. Additionally, Michael Jordan, you said he was thick-skinned and LeBron is not, ran away to play baseball when the first sign of adversity.
No, he was forced out. So he just said, well, I'm out. I might as well go try my childhood dream, which is to play baseball.
If you want to spin it that way, that's great. That's
But it's
why
not a
you
spin,
are
it's
who
the
you
truth.
Are.
No,
But
it's
the thing
that's
is,
what happened.
The thing is, if he was thick-skinned, as we all say, he would have actually put up a fight and said, no, I'm playing the sport that I love. I'm continuing my legacy. He failed to do that.
The commissioner booted him. So
Great.
that
That's a
was all.
point in our
Okay.
favor then. We will take
right.
that on the LeBron side, and LeBron has never had.
What does that have to do with playing basketball?
Well, he ran away from basketball, and people ignore those 2 years.
No. Okay. All right. Way to go. Thank you. Yeah, all right. What's your name, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Skip, you say LeBron isn't thick-skinned, but I think being that is how you deal with adversity. The decision, leaving Cleveland to go to Miami. He had a target on his back from day one, joining Bosch, joining D.
By the way, I applauded that move. I thought he needed to leave Cleveland.
Well, I think his success there proves that it was worth it.
Yeah, it was.
So, like I said, being thick-skinned is how you deal with adversity. Target on his back, won in Miami. What does he do? He wants to go home to Cleveland and bring a championship to his city. That takes fucking balls. And he did it, and he won. So what does he do there? He accomplishes
I mean,
his
it helped
mission.
that Kyrie was there, right?
Yeah, but you need to have a supporting cast somehow.
Yep.
So what does he do then? He wants to take his career to the next chapter of its life. He goes to LA. As we know, the LA Lakers, Luke Walton as their coach, they weren't really set up for success there. But what do? They have LeBron, they make a couple moves, and they win a championship in the bubble, which people want to call Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse.
But
I'll call
I
it.
want to call it impressive, seeing how everyone basically asked LeBron, is this what we're going to do? And everyone went to Orlando, and they say themselves, the players, that it was a fucking hell of a time there and tough as shit to win.
Okay,
So I think that's
but
adversity.
My friend Jared Dudley told me and told the world at that point that the Clippers, obviously they were the best team in the bubble. You could just see them coming. They were better than the Lakers that year. And as Jared said, them boys didn't want to be in that bubble because they didn't. They just wanted out. They wanted to go home. So LeBron took advantage of a lot of players who didn't want to be there.
I call that thin skin.
Okay, really? Okay, but remember, LeBron got almost 4 months off because of the pandemic to get ready for that run to that finals. And then the Clippers crap out. They're up 3-1 on Denver. And LeBron gets a gift ring from the bubble. And that's Mickey Mouse to me. That's, okay? All right, good job. Yeah. Okay, how are you, sir?
Tyler.
All right, hi, Tyler.
You talk about LeBron being thin-skinned. I'm sure we all remember 2016. Caps go down 3-1. Klay Thompson has a quote in one of the pressers that LeBron got his feelings hurt. LeBron sat there. I actually had this on a flag in my freshman dorm room. The graphic, glasses, sitting there laughing with the Undertaker shirt on. What does he proceed to do? He rips off 3 straight to come back 3-1 in the finals. To me, and I think everyone here, that's being pretty thick-skinned and handling adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to say to that?
Okay. He was right place at right time. Draymond got suspended for a finals game. In the history of the finals, I didn't think I would ever see a player get suspended for a finals game. And at that point, I'm not a big Draymond fan now because I think he's over the hill, but he was their guts and their glue. And they lost their enforcer, quote unquote, because he's the dirtiest player in the history of basketball, is Draymond Green. He literally kicked LeBron in the nuts during an NBA Finals game. Yeah. And finally, Kiki Vandeweghe, who was the Minister of Justice at that point, said, okay, that's enough. So that was a big break, and all of a sudden the momentum switched completely, and I'll say it again, LeBron played very well in Game 7, had the great chase down block, though it was a bicycle built for 2 because J.R. Smith cut off Iguodala at the pass. Well, he did. He just did. He slowed him down, and Iguodala's going to dunk it, and then J.R. cuts in front of him, and he has to kind of take an extra dribble and try to lay it up, and LeBron, comes from ambush block. It's the classic ambush because the guy doesn't see it coming. Way to go. Okay. If you're going to block somebody, block them eye to eye, face up, go at them. That's what I want to see, right? Okay, all right. So the point was Kyrie finally nobody could make a shot in the last 3 minutes until Kyrie finally said, I've seen enough of this, and he made the shot because that's not LeBron's forte to make a shot like that. You're back.
I'm back. I mean, you have been covering LeBron probably harder than any human being in the history of the planet.
Maybe I've been more honest about it.
No. I'm saying you followed, like you said earlier today, you've watched every dribble that he's done in his career, right?
Yep.
You've been ridiculing him. You've been just ripping.
Speaking the truth, yes.
You've
Go
been
ahead.
lying on national television for clicks, which I respect. But you get the numbers. You get the numbers, but you're not telling the truth. I know you don't even believe the stuff you're saying. But anyway,
back up everything with facts.
I don't know.
You've got feelings.
You've been
I
had
got
today
facts.
a couple times. But let's continue. Anyways, how many times has he publicly responded to you over the 22-year career? In all of his lowest moments,
I don't care.
No, but that's not.
I just don't care.
In all of his lowest moments, you're the first guy to get on TV.
He's talked about me before, but he hasn't responded to criticism.
So zero.
You know?
So in all of his lowest moments, you're the first person to go on TV and shred him, rip him apart, get your numbers that you need to get. I respect
So you're
the numbers.
admitting he had a lot of low moments, right?
You play for 22 years. You have like 3, I think. I think there's 3 videos of you ripping him apart. For all of those times, for him to never respond to you once. Okay, Stephen A. Smith decides to take a low blow coming after his son. Not about his basketball ability. He's saying please as a father. He's coming after him as a dad. Not anything to do on the court, right? And also, Bronny is probably the second greatest 55th overall pick in the history of the NBA.
Okay.
Only behind Patty Mills. Respect for Patty Mills. But by the end of Bronny's career, I think he'll be number 1. Anyways.
Okay, at that point, it was late January, and Bronny was having the hardest time in both the G League. He'd had a hard time in the Summer League, and he was getting into Laker games.
He's averaging 20 points in the G League.
But at that point, he was horrendous in the G League. Trust me, this is late January. Go back and look at it.
8 games into the season.
3 games.
8 games into the season on First Take, they're saying, oh, they should fire JJ. JJ's a Coach of the Year nominee.
All right,
I mean,
that's a whole other issue. Okay?
That's,
But I'm saying, when Stephen A. spoke, it was late January, and Bronny was, I think, 2 of 22 from 3 combined in the G League and the NBA.
But Stephen A's argument wasn't even about his play on the court.
Okay,
he was speaking to LeBron
saying,
as a father, which is completely different. That's in lieu of all these stats.
But he was saying that the only reason Bronny was on the team was because of his father. Okay. Way to go. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Okay.
Pleasure coming back.
Yes, sir. Here we go.
All right. Thanks again, Skip. Some of the other debaters came up and talked about stuff off the court. Let's go on the court. Let's talk ball. 2011, loses to the Mavs, right? A natural person that would respond to that would Wilter. What does LeBron do? He rattles off 8 straight finals appearances. Let's talk about them. 2012.
He was good.
Goes band for band against the Thunder. James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Tapo Cephalosha.
They were all just little kids, but go ahead.
3 first ballot Hall of Fame guys.
Yeah.
They're not bad. So he wins that. He's first team All-NBA, first team All-Defense, Finals MVP, regular season MVP. That's a good way to respond to some tough criticism, right?
Agreed.
Because the summer of 2011, you're coming from him, right? 2013, he does it again against San Antonio Spurs.
Thanks to Ray Allen. Yep.
You could say that. Still won Finals MVP, something Steph didn't do in 2015 when the LeBron stopper held LeBron to 36, 13, and 8. That's diabolical.
Okay, Game 4 in LeBron's house was not diabolical. It was horrible for LeBron James.
We can talk Game 4. We can talk Game 6. LeBron has done stuff in the
7 of
finals that no one's
22
ever
in
done.
Game
Michael
4.
Jordan couldn't. Michael Jordan played against 10 Hall of Famers in these 6 finals that you cherish and love.
Yeah.
LeBron's gone against 32.
Yeah.
It's night and day. It's not even close. It's literally not even close.
You realize Jordan never even got close to a game.
Yeah, because he was getting swept in the
Game
first round by the
7.
Celtics 2 years in a row.
You're talking about in his second year, he got swept by Larry Bird, the 86 Celtics. That might have been, a lot of people think it was the greatest team ever. And after Game 2, a double overtime game in which Jordan scored 63, Larry Bird, who wasn't quick to compliment anybody, said that was God disguised as Michael Jordan. That's what they thought of him. That's what Bird at his apex thought of Michael Jordan. LeBron's achievements are all quote-unquote longevity marks built on most minutes played. Who would like to attack that premise? Here we go.
So, I will give you that most of the strong points that a lot of LeBron supporters are able to make are longevity based. However, when you look at the specific accolades he's received in his career, the main thing you look at is the 2016 finals against the Warriors, the clutchest performance by an NBA player. He came back down 3-1 with his team, led the team in all of the main statistical categories. That is something that you don't have to look to longevity to back it up. And I'd love to hear what else you have to say on
Okay,
the topic.
what I have to say is that the shot of shots in Game 7 in Steph's house, not made by Steph, was made by Kyrie Irving. For the last 2 minutes of that game, nobody could buy a basket, including LeBron James. And Kyrie said, I've had enough of this, I got this. And he rips a three that wins the game. So again, LeBron never seemed to make the shot. Jordan always made the shot that had magnitude, that had impact, that ended series, ended games, ended the NCAA championship game to start with. And in this case, once again, LeBron wasn't the guy in the end, it was Kyrie. And if Kyrie doesn't make that shot and Steph finally finds himself down the stretch of that game, you could be 3-7 in the finals.
I could see that, but I think boiling it down to one shot from one aspect of the game, strictly just scoring, is kind of taking away from everything that LeBron did achieve throughout that series, as far as his ability to command playmaking through
Here's
assists.
the point. When you have played 71,000 combined regular season playoff minutes, the most ever, it's a tribute to your durability, your longevity, but not to your game-to-game greatness, as in Jordan playing 11 total years. That's all he really played. Complete years, he played 11. LeBron is obviously in year 22, and we ain't seen the end of it yet, because it looks like he's 40 going on 28. It looks like he is playing the best basketball at 40 of anybody ever, and I give you the longevity, durability of it because it's unmatched. But if you want one game for your life, one shot for your life, give me Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Yeah. Hey, here we go. Yes, sir.
So, Skip, the best thing that I can come up with against your argument is to talk about moments that matter. Let's talk about the playoffs. You say LeBron's stats and his credit all are due to longevity, but I'd argue against that. I'd quote, number one, the 2015 and 2016 finals, when in 2015, despite losing that series, LeBron led both teams in 5 major statistical categories. Played so strongly, in fact, that they gave Iguodala the MVP for holding him to what, 36, 13, and 8, I think I was quoted as earlier.
Okay, but remember,
later,
Iguodala didn't start until Game 4. He wasn't in the starting lineup until Game 4. And I give you that LeBron's first 3 games of that series were the greatest 3 games combined he ever played in any playoff series.
Sure.
Give you that.
Sure, and then next year in 2016, down 3-1, a comeback I don't think either of us could say Jordan would have pulled off.
Oh, dude, would he have pulled off? He would have done it in 6 games. That's what he would have done.
Hard disagree, because we all know in this
They would have just quit. The Warriors would have said, we're out.
Jordan's
We
never
quit.
played a team like the 2015, 16, or 17 Warriors. LeBron goes, again, another year of leading both teams in 5 major stats. None of that has to do with longevity. That comes with showing up every day and playing your heart out. Number 2, 2011. Can't contest that. I am an objective LeBron fan, but what I can tell you is that
There's no such thing as objective LeBron fan. You are like all the fans, blind witnesses. That's an oxymoron, because you're a blind witness. What do you witness? You're not seeing what you're actually seeing. Go ahead.
I can tell you what I saw after 2011, and it's for 8 straight years, win or loss, LeBron took his team to the finals. He won in 2012, 2014, 2013. He was the MVP for both. Lost in 2014, came back in 2015. If it weren't for a couple key injuries to star players, we're talking about maybe 5 rings. 2016, another finals run, the best finals performance any of us have ever seen or will see. And then, as we've talked about here, 2017, KD joins the Warriors and forms what is the best team ever. Regardless, from 2017 to 2018, LeBron plays his heart out. Specifically in 2018, the single best run we've ever seen from a basketball player. I'm talking game winners. I'm talking about 30-point triple-doubles. LeBron did whatever it took up until that game 1 in 2018 against Golden State. You and I both watched that game. We saw how spectacular he was. Everything I've talked about up until now,
he was
none
until
of that
the last shot, the one that mattered most.
But none of that.
If he just goes up and makes that jumper, you got me, but you don't got me.
And if the refs don't
didn't.
reverse the call, we're talking about a Cavs up 1 in that game.
Good job. All right. You're back again. Yes, sir.
All right.
Longevity.
We're getting a little crazy with this longevity thing because obviously, as we mentioned, the greatest young player in the history of organized competition. Now, as of pretty recently, the greatest old player in the history of organized competition. I don't even think you have on your sheet there anything to dispute that, right? All that happened in between was the greatest prime in NBA history.
4 and 6.
I have a question for you, though.
Okay, go ahead.
We're getting into a very strange with this longevity, almost as it's a negative. He has such great stats because he played for longer. Why is that a bad thing? Why did Jordan go and have to play double-A baseball, where he had more strikeouts than hits? He batted 200. I mean, he shouldn't. We talk about Bronny not being in the league. That guy shouldn't have played on any minor league baseball team. No. But because I came up here before, I asked you eight questions. You didn't answer any of them, which is kind of what you do, right? But my question, so you understood him, you didn't answer. Okay, great. So when does longevity? So he's 40, right? How many years realistically does he have his prime? Like 12, 15 years left? He'll play till he's 55 maybe. At what point does longevity start to matter? Because I don't think it matters as much as we're making it seem, but why is that a negative? You're saying, well, he scored so much because he played till he's 40. He played for 22 years. Like, I don't see the problem with that. Please explain. Let's say he plays another 5 years in his prime. When are we going to start to give him some credit for it instead of using that? What if he retired 3 years ago? What if he got suspended from the league for gambling and he had to take 2 different retirements and for some reason that's said as like a positive? Explain to me when longevity starts to matter, please.
The argument is Jordan versus LeBron. Jordan played 48,000 minutes total to 71,000 for LeBron. That's 23,000, magic number. The original 23 was the only 23.
Math isn't my thing, fact check
23,000 more minutes he has played, and I give you the longevity
of it. It's a positive
of it,
thing.
Okay, but 10 scoring titles to 1 for LeBron. A defensive player of the year and 9 in 11 years, 9 first-team all-defense.
In 1988, they were playing the Atlanta Hawks. The Bulls had 7 steals as a team. The Hawks turned the ball over 6 times. I don't know, were computers invented back then? I'm not the brightest guy here. The stats were completely, you look at his stats in home games versus away games, especially on defense. And Skip, I've been a huge fan of you for a very long time. And as I was just saying, I commend your commitment to this bit. I think you're unbelievable. I'm not joking. You're fantastic at what you do, right? You said, again, we love revisionist history. You said in 2010 that he is the best defensive player in the world. I could find a clip of you saying that. Do you remember saying that?
In 2010, he was the best defender?
From 2008 to 2012, he was the best defender in the league. And that's what I'm going off. Well,
okay,
it's
so
what you said.
Does that make him better
So then
than
he didn't have a
Jordan?
defensive player of the year. Why are we using that as like something that matters?
Because
also,
he had
what are we
one.
talking about here? Longevity?
9
Can you
out of
answer my
11.
question?
Yes, I'm answering.
Okay,
You're not
go.
answering. Okay? My point is that we look at scoring 10 to 1. How do you defend that? How do you defend the fact LeBron,
longevity
by superstar standards, has always been a lousy shooter from the free throw line?
What are you talking? Put the freaking things down, dude.
Okay.
What are you talking about? A lousy shooter?
He finally figured it out at age 40? Are you kidding me?
Because you needed to rely. He used to be the greatest athlete in the history of organized competition.
Jordan's 84. Okay, way to go.
All right. So you like to bring up longevity, but LeBron, I believe, is the youngest player to score any point from 2,000 points to 3,000 points to 40,000 points. That's crazy. We can bring up already being the best old player in the league, but you yourself and no one says, what is LeBron's best attribute? He's never been a scorer. He's probably a passer. He's a scorer that can score at all three levels. He can dunk. He's got unbelievable post moves. He can shoot from three. Watch his logo three-pointer highlights. He can do fadeaways. He can shoot with his left and his right hand. So why are we not bringing up the whole other angle of basketball where he's passing and he's top 4 all-time in assists while being first in points? That's kind of like Wayne Gretzky, almost.
Okay, but he's a 35% career three-point shooter. That ranks 361st in NBA history.
Right.
If you want to rank it, that's poor. That by his standards. This year, he's shooting 38% from three, 78% from the free throw line. So the 38% from the free throw line ranks 66th right now in the NBA. Well, that's not very good. And we're like, wow, LeBron, you're actually way improved than what you used to be. Over time, it just seems like if you last 22 years that you'd get in the lab, as LeBron says, in the offseason, and by year 3 or 4, you'd at least make yourself into an 80% free throw shooter, because he's never even gone above 80%. Jordan career was 84%, and he was just pretty good from the free throw line, but good enough. He was 10 points better than LeBron has been for his career.
Right.
So over time, it disqualifies everything you're bringing to the table, because you just have to admit, by superstar standards, he's actually a poor free throw shooter and a poor three-point shooter.
Was Shaquille O'Neal a good free throw shooter?
Okay, but he's 7'1" or whatever he was.
Around
right?
6'9". So let me ask you, what's worth more points in basketball, making a free throw or hitting a three-pointer?
Okay.
I think Michael Jordan shot in under 30% from three in his career. I think at least 3 times.
33. Okay.
That's
okay,
horrible.
Okay. But the point was, they did not prioritize the three-point shot. He averaged in his career attempts 120 a year, Michael Jordan.
Right.
LeBron averages 390 attempts because he's a high-volume three-point shooter. And I can make the case that before this year, he has hurt your teams. Hurt your teams by taking way too many
Never hurt
threes.
my teams, that's for sure. But
okay.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right, way to go. Way to go.
All right, so our topic right now is focused on longevity. That's what you said. You said everyone's pointing at longevity, but I want to point at something differently. Let's talk about physicality and athleticism. You've already admitted in our other topics that from a physicality standpoint, LeBron is second to none. He is the strongest person to move at that pace that we've seen on the basketball court pretty much ever.
I mean, that doesn't make him a tough guy, but I'll give you that he was born with all that.
Those gifts that allow him to essentially move at a different pace than other basketball players.
Okay.
So that's what I want to cling to when I talk about now who's better than who in that sense. You have and then you also make the point that his improvement throughout his career is an indictment on him for not being able to do it sooner. I make the case to say he's improved every season to get better, to become the person that he needs to become, the GOAT that he needs to be. And that, to me, is that's not an indictment. That's like you give credit when someone improves their ability through, particularly.
It took 22 years.
It's not like, hey, Skip, it's not like he was shooting 10% from three and 50 from the free throw line. That's not what was going on. He was still ranging around a passable
in
number.
The last 10 years, he's had 3 sub-70s from the free throw line. Okay? That's not. You're better than that. You got to be better.
So yeah, but and to one of my other debaters' points, free throws are a single point shot, and when you look at his other
but when you're the
statistics-
greatest driver of the basketball, you need to cash, because they are called free throws for a reason, because they are free. You can go up there. Think of all the points
Skip, I'm
you
not
left
gonna
on
lie.
the table.
If I knew I was gonna sit here and talk about LeBron's 75% or 70 from the free throw line, and that's the deciding factor on whether he's the GOAT or not, that's not what I thought we were gonna be debating. I'm not gonna lie to you. So like to the point.
Counts.
Of course it counts. Of course it counts. But it is a component of the rest of the argument, and we've all been here making our points as to why we feel he is where he's supposed to be. Free throws, really? That's what you're gonna cling to, Skip? Come on, man. We can do better than that.
All right, I'm gonna go to your first point.
Go ahead.
Biggest, baddest, strongest, all those things. You got me. There's never been a package like that attacking the basket. But I'm going to go I'm going to go off the grid here a little bit. Just trust me on this. In a fist fight, if I got Michael Jordan against LeBron James, Michael's at 6'6", I don't know what he weighed, maybe in the end 215-ish, something like that. LeBron's at 260-ish. I'll take Michael any day or any night in a fist fight.
Skip, that is
in
insane.
a fist fight,
Skip,
I got the
Skip.
GOAT. I got Jordan.
Skip.
He's the baddest man who ever stepped on a basketball
Someone
court.
here
Trust
was talking
me.
about you and clip
Trust me.
farming, and that sounds like a clip
Trust
farm,
me.
my guy.
No,
Come on.
no.
Come on here.
I think I got you on that one.
Yeah, come on.
All right, way to go. LeBron James was born without a clutch gene. Who would like to try me on this one?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Fire away.
Born without a clutch gene.
Yeah.
I have 3 examples for you. 1, 2009 Eastern Conference Finals against the Orlando Magic. 5 seconds on the clock, pass it in bounds, shoot, buzzer beating
I
score.
think it was 1 second on the
1 second
clock.
on the clock.
Yes,
Even better,
yes.
even more
Yeah.
clutch. Thank you for proving my point.
Yeah.
That's example 1.
It was actually disproving your point because it was the classic case of LeBron didn't have to make that decision of should I drive it and risk having to go to the free throw line? I'll just catch it and shoot it. And Hedo Turkoglu is guarding him, and they're remember, Cleveland's down 2 at this point. So you have to make a 3 to win the game. And Hedo lets LeBron catch it and shoot. You just face guard, like get up in him. Don't let him catch the ball in bounds because he doesn't have to think it's going to be, I got to just shoot it. And he made it. It was the shot heard around the world. And then what happened? He disappeared right on schedule. They lose in 6. They always lost in 6. All right, go ahead.
All right, example number 2.
All right.
2013 Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers. Overtime, to the rim, to the rack, score, layup for the win.
Left-handed layup. You're going to take that?
Yeah.
Does that qualify as a buzzer beater? A left-handed
Yes,
layup?
how does it not?
Okay.
That's another clutch.
I might have made that shot, but go ahead.
I mean, that's a debate in its own self.
I'll give you that.
Clutch number 3, we brought it up before. The block heard around the world on Iguodala on his fucking head.
Okay, but it didn't win the game. It didn't close it out. It wasn't a buzzer-beating block.
But is it not still a
game
clutch
saving?
play?
It was. I don't know. Is that a clutch play to chase somebody down and block it after J.R. Smith cuts him off at the pass and Iguodala has to sort of change his dribble? He was going to go up and dunk it, and J.R. Smith runs underneath him. Good play, which allowed LeBron to catch up and leap and blindside block it. It's a ambush block from behind. Okay, I don't call that clutch. He played hard. He always plays hard. I give you that. Aren't you supposed to?
I
Right?
mean, obviously you're supposed to, but it's in those defining moments where your back's against the wall and you're putting up a fucking block or a shot, whatever it is.
Let me do this. Let me bring it more into the present. Let's just go back a couple of years to the Western Conference Finals against the Denver Nuggets. Again, the Lakers got swept, but what happened in those 4 games? I want somebody here to disprove me on this one because all 4 times the game is close and winnable for the Lakers. The second 2 at home, the last 2 at home. And what happens in those combined 4 fourth quarters, LeBron shot 7 of 23, 1 of 10 from 3, and in the closeout game 4 in his new house in LA, he had 2 shots to tie in the last 10 seconds of the game and got neither of them up to the rim. Well, the clutch gene, I mean, that's horrendous. And then let's fast forward to last year's playoffs against Denver. This was in the first round, obviously. Game 1, go look at it. In the fourth quarter, he's upset by all the criticism that he took for failing so badly, epic fails in the 4 fourth quarters, that he pouts in the Game 1 fourth quarter and refuses to shoot until the game's completely out of hand. And then in Game 2, help me out with this one. Last few seconds of the game, maybe 5 seconds left, he's got a 3. He pushed off just the way Jordan pushed off in Game 6 at Utah on Jamal Murray, and he goes up for a wide open 3 to win the basketball game, and he LeBricks it because he just doesn't make those shots. That would have made it 1-1 at that point. That was a huge shot that he gagged because that's what he's done his whole career on those kinds of shots. I'm sorry. All right.
You keep saying I don't call that clutch. What do you call clutch? So we're on the same page. You're saying he's not, what is clutch?
Clutch is Michael Jordan winning the NCAA championship with a walk-off shot. Clutch is Michael Jordan beating Craig Elo and the Cavaliers in the deciding Game 5 with a walk-off shot. Clutch is winning the NBA Finals in Game 6 at Utah by stealing the ball, dribbling the length of the court, and going up and holding the pose on a walk-off shot. Those are clutch.
It's all walk-off shots for you. It's not about a full playoff performance, because you also just said, speaking of the 2009 Magic series, he averaged 39, 9, and 9 in that series. 39, 9, and 9, and they lost. I would love after this, maybe we could go get a drink together. We could go watch the highlights of that series.
Remember,
you're talking about the last shots.
That was supposed to be LeBron versus Kobe, the whole build-up.
He averaged 39, 9, and 9, Skip. Why is that his fault? Clutch performance is not 1 minute of a game. It's not 1 second. He has played. We were listing, our friends over there listed some great clutch performances. You're only talking about shots at the end of the game. And again, if that's what you want to talk about, he has more. So we can end the debate there.
That's
what about
the definition
LeBron?
of clutch.
So the performance, a full playoff run where he fucking... Do you remember against the Celtics, Game 6, 2012, his back against the wall, down 3-2? That coming off 2011, which was terrible, right? What did he do? He couldn't miss in the first. I think he missed one shot in the first half. Go watch that first half highlights, 30 in the first half, 45.
How about coming off 2010 against the Celtics, winning games 4, 5, and 6? It got so bad that somebody from his inner circle had to plant with Stephen A. that he had to be sedated in the locker room because he was before those games because he had an issue with a teammate, Delonte West.
So this is a fun thing. I just said a point. And now you're bringing up something completely unrelated because you don't have an answer for that. 2018 LeBronto, right? He ended, that team had a pretty nice run for a couple. You never heard that?
Yeah, but you're bringing me Toronto?
So who does it matter? You're bringing me, who's the guy you listed that he hit a shot over? I don't know who that guy is.
It was the Eastern Conference in those days. Those
because
are
everyone was
opponents.
So do you think it's a...
Paul George's Indiana?
1 second for
you. Is that credible?
1 second. So the year after LeBron left, it was almost like all these East teams started building now. It was almost like, I don't know, he's really good and nobody wanted to really contend because like there was no point because they were going to the playoffs or the finals every single year. Was that like a coincidence, you think, that the East got like way better after he left?
You know what?
It was a coincidence.
You know what? Speaking of clutch, I even got to throw this at you. Let's keep it somewhat in the present because even this year against Charlotte at home after they acquired Luka Doncic, this is one of the first Luka games.
Yeah, I watched.
LeBron gets 2 3-point shots, pretty open, pretty good looks.
Okay.
To tie the game. And LeBricks both of them. And I'm like, you can't even do it against Charlotte?
He had his most...
They lost to Charlotte at home.
He had his most... The most he ever spoke in an interview, you'd probably agree with Pat McAfee. The most open he was, not on the shop, not on anything that's his own platform, was the McAfee interview, right? Stephen A. Smith, good friend of yours, right? 6 weeks prior, right, they had the interaction after the game, which, first of all, if that was Jordan, you would be saying, my uncle would still be talking about it to this day. Oh, that's the clutch gene. His biggest stop, he called him out, and then he went in, walked down his favorite team. In the middle of the game, he walks up to him, he goes back out, leads a comeback, walks down his favorite team right in front of his face. Stephen A. goes on a press tour 6 weeks after that, and then on the McAfee show, there's 90 seconds. You can time it. 90 seconds from the moment Stephen A.'s name comes up to the moment they move on. Stephen A. that night puts out a 55-minute response to him on his YouTube. Within 2 hours of that happening, LeBron James hit a buzzer beater versus the Pacers. 2 weeks left in the NBA season.
A buzzer beater?
In a literal sense, it was. I deal in the reality of it. What's a buzzer beater?
Oh, here we go again.
I'm back. I'm glad to hear you don't like to see me coming up here. That makes me feel good, Skip. I appreciate that.
I was actually looking forward to it, but go ahead.
Even better. So I want you to rank. I know you're obsessed with this clutch gene. You're obviously obsessed with LeBron. That's why we're here. Duke, all-time choke job a couple days ago. You tie it back to LeBron. The sun comes out, you tie it back to LeBron. We have a rainy day, it's LeBron's fault. Everything's LeBron's fault. All right, so you're saying he doesn't have the clutch gene. Can you rank these 3 players in your mind who is the most to least clutch? Jordan, Kobe, LeBron.
You just did it.
So that's what you think?
Did it, thank you. Yep.
So now my follow-up to that, can you tell me which percentage here is higher? 53, 47, 23. Which of those is the highest? Which is higher?
Well, obviously. Go ahead. Okay, we get it.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah, you do. Okay, and those numbers are tied to what and whom?
So when we're talking clutch, last 10 seconds of a playoff game, would you say that maybe those 10 seconds are kind of important, maybe the time to be clutch? LeBron's field goal percentage, 53%. Jordan's, 47%.
Okay.
Kobe's, 23%.
Right.
So how are these two guys who are just factually less efficient in the clutch, born with this so-called clutch gene that you just make up, pull out of thin air, how are they more clutch when factually they're not?
Okay. In late and close situations, since LeBron came into the league, he is worst. In late and close free throw line situations, LeBron is the worst since he walked onto an NBA floor. That's all I know. So I'm not sure where you're getting your hocus pocus numbers. But
I can break it down for you.
Yeah.
It's playoff games, 10 seconds left, game tying or game winning field goal attempts.
Okay.
Would you say that maybe that fits under the clutch criteria?
Yeah, I know every one that he's made. I got it. It's 9-8 Jordan in walk-off shots, but that's regular and playoffs, 9-8. But again, show me one that mattered, that had magnitude to it, and you won't be able to because there's not one.
Not one that mattered with magnitude?
That ended a series.
That ended a series.
LeBron
went 12 years without losing a win or go home.
Yeah, all right.
Skip, I'm back.
All right.
You're here arguing about the clutch gene, and I'm willing to admit that. As long as you're willing to admit that Michael Jordan isn't a winner without Scottie Pippen and Phil Jackson. Jordan's best record on the Bulls without them. Do you know what it is by chance?
His best record without
on the Bulls,
them
without
on the
either
Bulls.
without either one.
Well, it wouldn't be very good.
I'll give you a hint. It's
Yeah.
below 500.
Yeah.
It's below
Okay.
500. My GOAT took his team to the finals by himself at age 22, where Jordan couldn't even go by himself. He needs Scottie Pippen. The Bulls never had a losing season after Scottie Pippen
Okay,
arrived.
let me ask you this.
Skip. Even the year when we know LeBron got in trouble for gambling, guess what their record was? Only 2 games worse than the year before.
Okay.
But continue. What do you got?
Okay, so against the Celtics in Michael Jordan's second year when they got swept, who played better in that series versus LeBron's versus the Spurs in the 07 finals? Which player played better?
Sorry,
Jordan
we're comparing
or
a
LeBron?
first-round
Jordan
series
versus
versus an NBA
Okay,
Finals.
We're comparing a series
That's what we're comparing.
against an 86
series that
Boston
series
Celtics
that
that
Jordan
a lot
lost,
of people thought was the
a
best
series
team
that Jordan
ever.
lost versus a dynasty Spurs team in the final.
Both of them swept.
You know what?
right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
You know what? I'll give it to you. Jordan played great in that game.
I'm a
63
Spurs
points.
fan. I'm a Spurs fan, and that 86 Boston Celtics team
is better. Okay.
Better than
because
the
we're ever
07
gonna. When are we gonna see that, Skip? When are we gonna see that matchup? What are you talking? We're talking first round versus finals. Jordan has never been able to win without the help of the greatest coach of all time. So also, even in college, he had the greatest basketball coach of all time. The greatest college basketball coach of all time. Maybe, unless you want to say John Wooden. Sure, not here to debate college.
Okay, he won the championship.
Yeah, as a freshman with James Worthy too. Yeah.
You just
Great.
sweep that under
But
the
no,
carpet,
I mean,
right?
you're forgetting these key parts about his career.
Okay, what was the
best college-
classic line about Dean Smith? The classic line was, only one man in college could stop Michael Jordan, and that was Dean Smith, because he didn't feature him. He didn't play to his strengths. It's why Jordan went 3rd overall in the draft, which you look back at it, you say, what? Wait a second, Akeem, and I love Akeem, but over Michael Jordan and Sam Bowie was just a big swing and a miss. But the point was, we couldn't even see Jordan coming because he was so handicapped by his head coach.
He was still a
at
top
Carolina.
3 pick. It's not like he was
okay.
some up and coming, like sneaky. It wasn't like Jokic where his drafting during a quesadilla commercial. Like,
Okay, but nobody saw this coming.
I'll give you
Okay,
that. I'll give
all
you
right.
to that extent, yes.
Okay.
But I really, truly believe that Jordan, if you isolate the years without the greatest basketball coach of all time and the greatest second man, he's not a winner.
Okay.
I'm not denying his greatness during that 8-year gap where he was gambling in between too.
Okay.
But to say LeBron has shown that he can have success as an individual and with an amazing team.
Okay. I give you Phil Jackson because he was great for Michael Jordan. He was so great that when they pushed Phil out the back door in favor of Tim Floyd, Michael said, I'm telling you, you do it, I'm gone. And he walked into the sunset and stayed in the sunset for 3 years. The backside of his prime, he gave up in loyalty to his coach. Well, that's a huge thing. And he got forced out for a year and plus because he was gambling. That's the truth. Okay, you got it. And there was a
Good.
lot of unsavory going on that we can't get into the gory details, but you got me, okay? But it
Glad I
wasn't
got
like
you.
he quit on his team. He got forced out.
Yeah, by his own actions, though. It was his own decisions to. That's why LeBron will always be LeBron values and treasures the game of basketball so much that he would never jeopardize his legacy or the entire league itself to gamble or do something where Jordan's all about himself. That's why LeBron is the GOAT. LeBron is for everybody of the game of basketball, of the NBA. Jordan is for himself. Thank you, Skip. Appreciate it.
That was funny.
Looks
Way
like
to
we're
go.
out of town.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
LeBron has always been a poor shooter by superstar standards. Who would like a shot? Here we go. I'm okay.
So we're talking superstar standard as far as shooting, but we do consider Michael Jordan a superstar. But the fact that we don't we discount the fact that LeBron James has a higher effective field goal percentage and an effective three-point percentage, despite the fact that LeBron shot 800 additional threes versus Michael Jordan in his career. We have higher volume, we have higher
But again,
efficiency.
in Michael's day, nobody valued the three-point shot at all. It was not prioritized. It was not emphasized. Nobody cared. It was an aftershot thought. And in LeBron's day, it is the shot.
Correct.
It has actually transcended the slam dunk as the biggest momentum switcher in a basketball game is the three-point shot.
100%, but that also means that if LeBron was playing back during his Jordan days, he would not be shooting nearly as many threes, and suddenly he'd have a higher field goal percentage back in the 80s and 90s than he does today. Because instead of shooting it from 26 feet out, he'd be prioritizing those 18-foot elbow jumpers. The fact here is that we've got a guy with more volume and more efficiency, which according to any specific metric is going to give you a better shooter. On top of that, if we're talking about superstar standards, we can't be talking about Steph Curry because Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. And then we get into this weird period where we can either look at players as pure three-point shooters, players who make their living getting to the basket, or players who straddle the middle. And typically the players who play really well straddling the middle are the ones who rise to the top and end up being the face of the league at any given time. The fact that LeBron James has a higher field goal percentage when he takes it to the rack, given the fact that once again he's built like Adonis and no one can stop him. He's built like a power forward and a center, even though the fact that he's as fast as a point guard. However, if we start to move him back, he has a higher field goal percentage from a three-point standpoint than any real superstar who is not known specifically for being a three-point shooter. When you add all of those up, plus the overall well-roundedness of his game, it's very difficult to make the opposites.
Okay. 35% career from three. It ranks 361st all time.
So where's Jordan on that list?
Jordan didn't prioritize. Jordan didn't care. But trust me on this. If Jordan had played today, he would have gotten in his lab after his second year in the league, and he would have taught himself a three-point shot that would have been a 38% career three-point shot because that's what he was.
Which by that standard, that means Michael Jordan would have had a higher three-point percentage today than he did back then because he would have prioritized it. But once again, because now you're removing him from 18-foot elbow shots back there, his overall effective field goal percentage, which to this day is lower than LeBron, also goes down because now a lot of those mid-rangers that he made his entire career off of, you're pushing him back 10 feet.
Okay, all he did was win 10 scoring titles in 11 full seasons. That's all he did. You want to talk about dominating an era? And don't tell me there weren't great players in that era because there were a bunch of them.
Amazing. The problem is that when you take a look at all of the top scorers in those era versus the top scorers today, what Michael Jordan didn't go against is he didn't go against the James Harden who's foul baiting so he can make sure that he gets 35 points a game. He wasn't going against the Luka Doncic's of the world. The overall scoring from the entirety of the league is now up. So suddenly back in a world where Michael Jordan was winning all of these scoring titles, he was doing so because the gap between what he was scoring and the rest of the league was so much wider than it is today. LeBron, instead, he decided that he's going to make a living off of really being a complete player, hence the reason why his assists are up compared to Michael Jordan's. So now all of a sudden you have a guy who is scoring at a marginally less rate, but overall is impacting more of the points per game that his team is actually scoring.
And finally, a lot of your brethren here today, your fellow blind witnesses, don't want to hear this, but it actually does count to make free throws. And wait a minute. He's a career 74% free throw
Which is
shooter.
brutal. The fact that
it's
he's
terrible.
I know. The fact that he right now is the all-time scoring leader. Imagine what happens if he raised that free throw percentage. But
Okay.
overall, I think there's
All right.
really a case.
Okay. Way to go. All right. Here we go. Shoot your shot.
Skip, you talk about how LeBron plays in a different league where three-pointer is prioritized, but that's not entirely true. He came into a back-to-the-basket league where centers were prioritized. Even up until 2009 when he was facing Dwight, Dwight was a top 3 player in the league, and he was the main focus of the offense. It wasn't until halfway through LeBron's career where he had to adjust to the three-pointer and the game expanding. You don't seem to give him any wiggle room on that.
Well, he's
where
played
the
like
league-
40 years now, so I
But if the league
crossed generations and eras, right?
If the league completely changes halfway through someone's career, and they still become and adjust to the league to what it's become, to me that speaks to the fact that not only is he an all-around player, but his shooting significantly increased.
Look, it's not his thing to do that. He's never been really good at doing that to the level he should be when you're the all-time leading scorer. It blows my mind that you're the all-time leading scorer just on longevity because you've played longer than anybody else, and you are a great basket attacker, but you can't do that to the point that even this year, again, this is my unofficial count, and I watch every game, he has airballed 3 free throws this year. That's incomprehensible. Shoots an air ball from the free throw line. I will bet you that in Michael Jordan's career, he never airballed a free throw. I could be wrong about that. I didn't watch every game, but it's just, it should hit home to your psyche that, wait, LeBron airballed a free throw? It shows you it's just not what he was born to do. So by superstar standards, it's not his game to shoot free throws. He's made himself a little bit better three-point shooter, and this year, he's a lot better three-point shooter, but it took 22 years to get there. So for your career of last year he was better, so he's been on a rise here post-year 20, which is incomprehensible to me, and an indictment that you didn't get in the lab and fix your free throw and three-point shot after year 10 or 12, or to your point, when the league started to favor the three-point shot because of Steph, you got to compete. If you're the point guard or the two guard or whatever you are, you got to be able to shoot that shot and make it, especially under fire. Okay, way to go. Good job. Yes, sir.
Skip, before I respond, do you mind my asking how you would define clutch shooting by a superstar standard? And I'm sorry, not clutch, but shooting by superstar standards.
Better than a career 74% from the free throw line. That's the one.
Besides the free throw line, because we could probably spend all day talking.
Why do we eliminate that? Because that's the milestone to me. That's the measuring stick. That's the one where I say, man, Bird and Magic were almost 90%. Michael Jordan was 84%, 10 percentage points better than LeBron. Kevin Durant is plus 90%. So I'm saying that's how you do it when you're a star. When you get fouled, they're called free throws for a reason. You got to go make those free throws.
It's one facet of the game, but
Okay,
it's not enough to discredit him.
You're trying to like purge it. You're trying to scrub it from LeBron's record because you know it disqualifies him from being the GOAT.
It's a consideration, but it's not the only consideration.
Okay.
There's three-point shooting. There's shooting from 18 feet. There's shooting
Okay,
layups,
but even
which
in a
we
great
all
year,
know he does at
okay,
a very high level, if not the best.
But does he? Because this year, he's up to 38.1% from three. That ranks 66th in the NBA. So how do I define it? Well, that's, I don't know, can I give it average? I'll give you average from there because the studs make 40 plus. That's how, Steph's a 44% career three-point shooter.
As
obviously.
basketball fans, we all know when you're matching up against LeBron James in the playoffs, you are game planning. And unless he's having an off shooting night, you are not going to leave him open at the three-point line. As a superstar, that's how I would define it.
You know what? In 2013, and I know he's improved some, but I will never forget Greg Popovich during the 2013 NBA Finals waving at his defenders leave him alone. I'll never forget it. It's like emblazoned
You said
in
in
my
2013?
psyche. Yeah.
How'd that work out for Greg Popovich?
Okay, well, how it worked out was that LeBron LeBricked the tying three that should have ended the game.
But what did he do the
and,
possession
And you know
before?
what Greg Popovich did? He had pulled, for reasons unfathomable to me, he had pulled Tim Duncan from the game at that point. I don't know why.
That's your guy, by the way, we're talking about.
Chris Bosh was able to run out and track down that offense, that long rebound from the LeBrick shot.
And the only reason that rebound matters is because LeBron scored 16 in that quarter, including the three before that possession to even make the shot worth anything.
By
If
the way,
LeBron misses that three, Ray Allen hits it, they're still going home. The series is over.
The same LeBron who had an unforced error turnover at 40 seconds in that game and at 20 seconds in that game, which is why the team that I was rooting for, the San Antonio Spurs, should have closed that deal, and they did not. And Danny Green stayed in Popovich's doghouse because he, on the 1-3 that LeBron made late in that game, Danny Green took off to cherry pick for a layup.
We're arguing minute semantics, but really that LeBron three, we're holding him to a standard, a superstar shooting standard. He looked like a superstar when he hit that three to get them within one possession of that game. His team made a play the next that won that game, that won that series. If that's not a superstar play, I don't know what is.
Okay. Okay.
All right, Skip, we've really been hammering home the free throw percentage, and I'm sorry that I'm going to bring it up one more time. But so you said Jordan 84% for his career, LeBron 74%.
It's a big gap.
Take that over 10 points. That's 7 points versus 8 points out of 10. Are we going to determine?
Okay, remember, we're 22 years versus 11 full seasons. Go ahead.
Are we going to take 1 point in differential, call it 2 points even, out of every 10 points as to who the greatest basketball player of all time? Is that going to be the deciding factor as to why Michael Jordan, is the greatest basketball player of all time, when LeBron makes up for that 1 point with an extra couple assists a game over the course of 20 years, a couple extra defensive boards, maybe offensive boards, blocks, steals? I feel like that's a pretty minuscule factor to be
all right.
counting into this.
In the end, step back, better scorer. Who do you want to score your points in a game that you got to win for your life? Would you rather have Jordan scoring points for you or LeBron scoring points?
I would rather have LeBron James scoring
because
points for me.
Trust me, it's not even close.
That is a no-brainer.
The coldest-blooded basketball killer there ever was Michael Jordan. And if the game's on the line and you need a bucket, he will get you a bucket, and LeBron will let you down every time.
But is he going to be getting that bucket at the free throw line or in the field?
However it has to be gotten, he will. And he was not afraid of the late game free throw line. And you guys all know that your man LeBron is afraid of the late game free throw line. That's where he's at his worst.
He doesn't need the late game free throw line. He's hitting a three from the corner over Derrick Rose in 2014.
Cool. I think it was a 2 actually, but yeah. You don't need a flag.
All right, so you keep talking about late game free throws, free throw this, free throw that.
Yeah.
But, let's talk about also like late game moment. Probably the greatest game in NBA history, 2016 Game 7 of the Finals. So like we said, we talked about Kyrie Irving hits the three to put the Cavs up 3. But to actually ice the game, how did the game end? LeBron goes to the rack and, almost destroys the rim, Draymond Green's life, and instead, he ends up on the ground, and I thought he broke his wrist. He's in a lot of pain, misses the first free throw, but what does he do? He hits the second one, ices it, wins the championship. You talk about also all these things.
Okay, but you're up 3 already.
Right,
so,
of course,
okay,
but that put the game essentially out of reach.
Okay.
We keep talking about cold-blooded, and I would argue Steph Curry's been LeBron James' biggest rival throughout his career. They met in 4 straight finals. No one's ever done that. And in LeBron's career, 2009, 2010, he hits a game-winning buzzer beater in Golden State, wins the game on a deep shot.
That was the first one he ever made.
Okay.
That was his 478th NBA game, and it took 477 for him to finally make a regular season walk-off. It was over Ronnie Turioff at Golden State on a Friday night. I was watching.
Appreciate you getting that. But that wasn't his first game winner. It might have been his first buzzer beater, but not his first game winner.
Buzzer beater.
Fast forward to Miami. Warriors are up 2. LeBron step back 3 from the left wing, hits the three-pointer. 0.1 left, so it's not a buzzer beater. What does he do? He does the signature
Which game you talking
This
about
is
now?
2013 or 12 Heat Warriors, again in Golden State.
Okay.
And LeBron hits the game-winning three down 2 with 0.1. So it's not a buzzer beater with the 9-8. Now, later in his career, LeBron beats Curry in Golden State once in 2015, beats him twice in Golden State in 2016. 2018, when they lost game 1 of the finals, he hit, I think, 2 go-ahead baskets in the last 90 seconds of the game. Now you go to 2022, the play-in Golden State. LeBron hits a deep 3, which is the game-winning shot in Golden State again. Notice a pattern here. LeBron keeps hitting clutch shots, different variety. I haven't even mentioned he's probably the best fast break player of all time. He's probably the best dunker of all time. Probably the best alley-oop dunker of all time. His post moves, his fadeaway signature, his three-point shot where he looks at the ball, hits one of these, and then catches it. That's another one that we haven't even talked about.
Hey, wait, if he's the greatest dunker ever, why did he avoid doing a dunk contest?
Because he doesn't need to show that
he
can.
doesn't need to show that.
So are we now implying that he doesn't have some of the best dunks ever?
Jordan took over a dunk contest and became the logo, right?
Yeah,
From
yeah.
the free throw line, the logo, right?
LeBron's more worried about being the king of actual basketball and not All-Star Weekend, which he has been the most of all time, by the way. And then my last point here is that LeBron has played now in 3 decades, the 2000s, the 2010s, 2020s, but in reality, he's played players that played in the 80s, they played in the 90s, and then he played them in the 2000s. He'll have played players in the 2010s and the 2020s, and then after he's done, there will be players still playing in the 2030s and probably the 2040s that all went against LeBron James. That's 7 decades worth of different players he's gone up against, and that's so many years of evolution of basketball. James Naismith would be proud to have him represent that.
Okay, you got me. He is the longevity king, but where we missed a point here was that, would you believe that Michael Jordan 8 times played all 82 games. LeBron only once has played all 82 games, just for the record. So in a smaller window, he was actually more durable than LeBron has been.
Right, but we're talking about scoring and not being durable here.
Well, you brought it up.
I'll end on that.
Yeah, all right. LeBron needed Dwyane Wade to teach him how to win, to be his rock. Who would like a piece of that? Gabriel.
Let me ask you a question. I know you stated your opinion, but I have a question for you. Did Michael Jordan not need Scottie Pippen? If not, why?
He didn't need him to teach him how to win because he already knew how to win.
He wasn't winning.
He obviously needed somebody other than Steve Kerr or Will Perdue or some of the other junk that he had to work with, right? Because those are just guys. To me, you can mix and match all the John Paxsons and you got a whole list of people that Jordan brought along the way LeBron did to get to a finals, obviously, his first go-around in Cleveland. But Jordan was the ultimate winner, the ultimate leader in the locker room because they all were scared to death of him. He motivated his teammates by fear. LeBron motivates by love.
Well, he wasn't motivating by fear, I guess, in those first couple seasons when he wasn't making the finals until Scottie got there and started to really help.
Right.
You know,
But again, you're going up against 3 or 4, we could throw in 4, of the greatest teams ever.
Yeah,
3 for sure.
You know, last time I was in this chair, at least, we were talking about not debating this era versus this era. Let's just talk about the players that we're debating about themselves, right?
But again, Jordan didn't need Pippen to teach him anything because he knew it all.
Well,
he knew how to do it.
I argue against that, though. I push back against that specific claim that you just made.
Yeah, but Scottie Pippen was a follower, not a leader. He was a pure Robin to Batman.
Well, you could still
I was there. I covered the team.
Hey, listen, Skip, but you could still make the case that Batman needs Robin to do what he needs to do, you know?
And sure, you do need something.
Okay, but to your point, the same way, you know, I do believe that Dwyane Wade had an impact on LeBron's career. Obviously, we're basketball fans. We know that. But I'm just making the case to you that it's extremely similar to the Batman and Robin relationship that you're getting at with Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan.
Okay, but in the beginning, in 2011, Dwyane was still, I know he tried to hand off the baton to LeBron, but Dwyane was still Batman to Robin to me in 2011. And then they got to the finals, and when he needed Robin to be Robin, Robin couldn't be it.
So check it out. So then maybe there was a little bit of an issue between understanding your role in that regard, but you just made it very clear when Dwyane Wade was Batman, they lost in 2011, and then when the real Batman
handed off to him,
got the reins of the leadership of that team.
But he became the big brother that LeBron did not have. And I give you this: LeBron didn't have a Phil Jackson of a coach to teach him the ropes. How do you do this?
Yeah.
How do you control your emotions? How do you control stress? And Dwyane taught LeBron how to handle himself under the biggest stress and pressure of the finals.
But for you to now tell us that is a reason why you're going to knock him a peg in the GOAT debate, that seems silly to me.
But I applauded him for leaving Cleveland to go to Miami because he needed Dwyane Wade.
But give him the credit of what was received from that interaction with Dwyane Wade. He ended up developing himself into the player that he became and the player that we all claim now is our GOAT. You know, so and another component there is when you know that Jordan had a great coach in college and then eventually continued to have great coaching throughout his career. LeBron, like you just mentioned, did not have that luxury. So him having to learn.
I don't think he had bad. I don't think Mike Brown's a bad coach. I think he's a pretty good coach.
Don't think he's comparable to the coaching staff and the growth that Jordan received throughout the younger part of his career. And I think that's just the point that I kind of want to hammer home is that you are right. Dwyane Wade was a huge part of LeBron's career, massive. But the other part of that conversation is, though Jordan has had just as big influences on his career that people who brought him to where he wanted to go.
Dwyane wasn't chopped liver in the 2012 finals when LeBron finally broke through and he said, it's about damn time that I won.
Scottie Pippen was never chopped liver, so we can agree on that. We can agree on that.
But remember, that was 1-1 going from Oklahoma City down to Miami for Game 3. And go look at Game 3. Dwyane was the star of that game. Well, he took over.
100%. And I'm sure that, if we go back into the Bulls situation, you could find games where Scottie carried the Bulls. But hey.
Yeah. And by the way, in 2012, remember the Mario Chalmers game? He scored 12 in the fourth quarter of that. That was game what?
Might go need someone? That's like
four. Yeah. Remember Mike Miller in the closeout game? Didn't Mike Miller hit 7 of 8 threes in the closeout game?
That's a good role player right there.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Hey, Skip, you mentioned that LeBron needed Dwyane Wade. I'd like to reframe that. I think LeBron needed to get away from the toxic situation that was in Cleveland. Now, LeBron at 18 years old, the chosen one, right? As he's coming in, who did he have as vets? Ricky Williams? He had guys who were missing rebounds on purpose to get triple doubles. You look at those interviews that they were playing when they knew that they were going to get LeBron, and they said, yeah, he's going to be a role player. He can help out the team. He had such a bad locker room. He had such a bad ownership group. He had such bad management. The Cleveland Cavaliers were so poorly managed that they had a chance to get a Mauri Stoudemire, and they passed on him to keep J.J. Hickson. So that's why LeBron had to get the hell up out of there.
You didn't think Ilgauskas was pretty good?
No, his feet were different sized. He averaged 13 points in the finals.
I actually thought he was decent.
He was okay. He was okay. Now you look at the situation in Miami, and like my man just said, when the real Batman emerged, all of a sudden they started winning. I would also like to point out that first championship year, Dwyane Wade's stats weren't that great, and in the second championship year, they kind of fell off a cliff. And now the whole Dwyane Wade argument kind of gets thrown out of the water when you look at the fact that he went to Cleveland and he won a championship there, and then he went to the Lakers and won a championship there. He's the only player in NBA history to win Finals MVP with 3 different teams. So LeBron is the winning situation. You bring him wherever you go, no matter the situation, he's going to deliver. He's going to deliver.
Okay, but we're talking about Jordan versus LeBron. Jordan never needed to leave Chicago to go somewhere to find a big brother.
It's not LeBron's fault that Jordan got drafted to, a great GM. Jordan was a bully. He bullied his GM, but the GM did a great job. He picked Tony Kukoc. He got Dennis Rodman.
I wasn't a big Krause fan. I knew him well. I just, whatever.
Well, I wasn't around then, so I didn't really know Krause. But, he drafted Scottie. He scouted Scottie when Scottie was 6'1", right? Playing at some small school.
Arkansas,
he was a great basketball mind. I don't know who LeBron's GM. I forget his name, but obviously it wasn't very good. He was pretty lousy, right? I think the best player in the 2007 finals was Boobie Gibson, who was a G Leaguer, and then his starting guard was Larry Hughes, who once famously shot a layup in a dunk contest. Okay. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I think Larry Hughes made one All-Star team.
He was good. He was hurt though. He was hurt by that point. No disrespect to Larry Hughes, but Jordan was just in a much better situation all the time. Why, when you're born to a privileged household, right? Why would you have to run away? You just stayed there.
Household?
Very privileged. The Chicago Bulls were extremely well run. He had all-stars all around him. He got to punch guys and get away with it. He had a Hall of Fame coach.
Michael Jordan despised Jerry Krause. I was once walking with Michael during a Pro-Am. He was a golfer, a pretty good golfer, and hit his drive in a fairway bunker, and he pulled out his 5-wood, and I said, "You're going to try to hit a 5-wood out of there? Because it's a hard shot if you know golf." And he said, "Yeah, I just looked down and imagined Jerry Krause's face on the golf ball." That's a quote from Michael Jordan to me. Okay, that's how. Okay, so is that well run? He despised it.
Poor character guy. Likes to bully those that are a little bit beneath him. It's not very fair.
He was the ultimate bully, and all he did was go 6-0 in the finals. But anyway, way to go. Dwyane Wade.
So, what's this word that you've said in pretty much every topic that you've had? You just referenced it
Free throws, right?
Yes, okay, so let me go on the record. Jordan is a better free throw shooter than LeBron. On the record, we could say that. You keep saying this word "if," right? Yeah. If has kind of defined some people's lives, right? If this thing went differently, if my aunt had balls, she'd be a bicycle, something like that. I don't know how that goes, but.
Yeah.
You've now said, so if the Bulls made different front office decision, if Cleveland made different front office decisions, we keep talking about ifs. If Jordan was in this era where we were putting all this emphasis on the three-point shot, it would be different, like he would shoot more threes. Why can't we, again, live in reality? Stop talking about ifs. The Bulls drafted his Robin, right? They didn't have to move teams to get a D. Wade type of player. He drafted their Robin. The Bulls had a much better front office. It was a much better situation. So, if they never got Scottie Pippen 1-9 in the playoffs at that time, he would have left. So, we could play ifs and buts all day. If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a wonderful Christmas. You keep saying if.
All right,
so he left because
facts.
they had one player. They got Mo Williams. I remember being I was a kid. When they got Mo Williams in the summer during the 2008 Olympics, I was celebrating. We were high-five. We just got Mo Williams. Good. He was like a 16-point-a-game scorer. That's who they were bringing in to help him as his right-hand man.
Help me out with some facts here.
Please.
What happened after Michael walked into the sunset and Scottie Pippen left Chicago? What was the rest of his career? He was right in the heart of his prime. What happened? Go look it up.
When he went to Portland?
He went to Houston first. Crapped out in Houston.
He was pretty good in Portland, though, after that.
No, he wasn't. Go look at, and his numbers just start going down, because he was lost.
Other than LeBron, every single human in history of sport has went down, other than LeBron James. He's the only one who hasn't.
Scottie, in the end, was made by Michael Jordan. Just trust me on that. Michael just made, he was, and they put him in the top, what is it?
He had that big of an impact on him? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it does. I mean, just go look at what happened to Scottie Pippen. Yeah.
When he was 35?
No, he wasn't 35. He was like 32.
Okay, Dwyane Wade.
Yeah.
I have got two things to say here, Skip. I'm going to go through a list of players I'm sure we're all familiar with. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played with Oscar Robertson. Later on, Bird with McHale.
Sure.
Magic with Kareem. Jordan, then got Scottie Pippen. Kobe, Shaq. LeBron, Mo Williams. The common thread between all these situations is that these players were either drafted, like the ones I've mentioned, into situations where they either had players to learn from, sort of as a rite of passage on your way to becoming a Hall of Famer. And then Jordan, right? And I'm going to call on your experience here, because as I know, as someone that's watched your show, Skip, you covered the Bulls, so you can correct me if I'm wrong here. But isn't the narrative, especially the one that came out from The Last Dance, that before Scottie came and before Phil was brought on as the coach, Jordan's approach to the game year after year, when they lost in the first round and then I think the second round in the semifinals against the Pistons, the narrative was that Jordan would shoot, and wouldn't defer to his teammates. He wasn't a team player. Now, then came an ultimatum of what we'll call, we brought in Scottie Pippen, we brought in Phil Jackson, and we brought in Dennis Rodman, and we created a culture and an organization that got a grip on Jordan that forced him to think about the game differently. Now, that's not something we knock against Jordan. It's not something we knock against any of those other players.
Okay.
But LeBron leaves a horrible situation, goes and plays with Dwyane Wade, and suddenly that is a knock on his career. I have to disagree.
Okay, it's not a knock. He just couldn't figure out how to control his own emotions even though he was shorthanded in Cleveland, obviously, and he did have an owner who, after he walked out the door, when free agency hit, Dan Gilbert, remember, issued a statement in which he accused LeBron James of quitting?
Yeah.
Really? And I'm thinking, no owner would ever accuse Michael Jordan of quitting because they'd fear that Michael would come knock on their door and bust him in the mouth.
Right.
Okay,
But
that's what you're dealing with.
in
That's
a world,
different.
in a world where LeBron does figure it out, he then just becomes the first Hall of Famer to do so. Because like all those great Hall of Famers who come after Jordan and LeBron.
You're right about The Last Dance.
You're referring to series that...
Yeah. Okay. Way to go.
All right, I'll be quick. So I want to defend my hometown Cleveland a little bit. Obviously, they messed up by not acquiring enough talent. But LeBron, while he was there, brought one of the worst teams that has ever made the finals to the finals when he was 22, when Jordan was making a shot in college. Those teams would not have been as successful and won as many games without somebody that knew how to win. So yes, Dwyane Wade helped him overcome the mountain ultimately, but he was a winner before that. I could also argue that the 2011 loss is what ultimately allowed him to take that next step. He realized what he needed to improve and then did that over the next 7 years to win 3 finals, 1 over the best team of all time.
Do you realize people in your city were burning their LeBron jerseys because he sat there during the decision, televised nationally, and said, "I'm taking my talents to South Beach," right? And it crushed your soul. You were, I think, old enough to remember your soul. You had a soul.
I was at a
right?
summer baseball tournament. We were all watching.
Okay, and again, I almost became the mayor of Cleveland at that point because everybody thought, I'm the LeBron basher, and yet I stood up in those days on First Take and said, no, I applaud. I gave him a standing ovation because he needed to go and join forces with not only Dwyane, but Chris Bosh, he was a perennial all-star in Toronto, and Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, and had quality above and around him, and had a big brother figure, and it was the best thing he could have done. And his best years, his best run to me was in Miami, post-Cleveland, before he went back to Cleveland. That's when he was at his greatest because he was surrounded by greatness.
Yep, my final point would just be to piggyback off of your point there. In the 2013 season, he was the best player of all time. So if we're arguing peak versus longevity in favor of Jordan with the higher peak, the 2013 season that LeBron had is the greatest peak that any basketball player has ever had.
Okay, go back and look at 1989 regular season. Michael Jordan, 33-8-8 in Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know how you can.
Did he win the championship?
No, he did
not.
There you
go.
Okay. No, wait a second. Neither did LeBron because Ray Allen won the championship. I'm Skip Bayless, and this is why LeBron James is not the GOAT.